Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And so what you see today is my new 2024 Bronco. I've got it parked here with Marcia. Just to give you a little bit of a size comparison, these things have blown up considerably in size since the first generation. And so this is a 68 and a 2024 model. You know, and originally I fought getting one of these. I saw them when they came out, and when they did a four-door Bronco, I was like, that's not really a Bronco, so I didn't give them a second thought. But going up to the Super Celebration in Tennessee, I got a chance to see what you can do with one of these Broncos, and I was blown away by what some people are doing with these. And so I decided to come back, give it a test drive, and after the test drive, I was sold. So I had a 2022 M3 Competition X Drive. I spec ordered that car, and I loved that car. But here where we're at, it just wasn't getting the kind of use that it did when I was in Germany. And so I thought, you know, what better time to trade out of that and get into something that I am obviously very passionate about, right? I love Broncos. I've had 5 or 6 of them over the years, Gen 1s and Gen 2s, and now this is my first Gen 6, you know, and I'm excited to take you guys along with what I'm going to do here. So the day that I got it yesterday, I took it immediately and got it tinted. That was the first stop, because you can see there's a ton of glass on this. And we're here in the south, and it's already, what are we? It's the 7th of May, and it's already hot. And it's only gonna get worse as we progress through the summer. So first stop was the tint. I went and saw the team at AK Tints, and I'll show you the process, but essentially what we did was I had them do a 20% tint on the front windows, and then I also had them do the windshield at a 70. And so it's all ceramic tint. That should knock the majority of the heat out of this thing. And not feel like I'm driving around in a fishbowl. So really good team over there at AK Tints. If you're in the Huntsville area, I recommend checking them out. Really friendly guys, good prices, quick work, great work, and I just can't recommend them highly enough. I might swing back through there for some more footage for some plans I've got for this. But for now, what I'm gonna do is just the initial accessory run of what I need after driving this for maybe 30 miles. What I've got on order and what I'm gonna put in is a set of seat jackers, which are gonna allow me to raise the front end of that seat up a little bit and get me a little bit more of a reclined seating position. Should be a quick install. Should be 2 bolts out, 2 bolts in, and we got the seat taken care of. I've also got a rail coming for the dash so I can mount my GoPro, phone holder, things like that. Some convex mirrors, because there are some pretty egregious blind spots in this. For as much glass as this has, right here off this back tire, where the body line is, it just, for me, for my size and where I sit in this thing, I've got a pretty glaring blind spot. Now it does have blind spot monitors, and I'm gonna grab the camera here and we're gonna do a walk through of the vehicle. But that was one of the accessories I wanted to get and throw on this thing. And that is going to be the initial run of accessories, right? So I've got those that I'm going to put in place before I take a big road trip to Texas. And so it is going to be a total of about round trip 30 hours of drive time that I'm going to get in this thing. And I'm going to get a really good feel for how it behaves, what I think it needs and what I think it doesn't. So right now I did the non-Sasquatch package. So sitting on 33 BFG KOs. I run, as you can see, I run BFG KOs on everything that I have. They are my absolute favorite tire. Now, they are not the best tire for off-roading. They are not the best tire for on-roading. But to me, they are the best all-around tire you can get. And so I'm absolutely excited this came with the KO2s already on it. Let me grab the camera and let's go ahead and do a walk around of the inside of the vehicle, and we'll take a peek at what she's got. So, automatic keyless entry, which is nice. That was one of the must-haves for me. And then as you step in, you can see we've got this gigantic 12-inch screen. Let's get it turned on here. Let's get that out of the way. So, you've got the combination of digital and analog displays here up front. Let me make sure I get my radio turned all the way down. So you can see the tint there, nice 20%, gonna knock out a ton of the light, but not so much that it's gonna be a problem at night. Coming through, we've got the mix of the analog and digital gauges here, and so you can kind of thumb through what shows up there on the right Right now I've got my gauges for temperature and transmission and all that stuff, PSI boost for the turbos. You can roll through and just have a calm screen, let you know your fuel economy. So this has got 1,000 miles on it, and it's averaging 17.2 miles to the gallon. Now, that was 1,000 miles of the dealer having it as a company demo. I think one of their managers drove it, and then some test drives. And so I'm going to guess that people were not super gentle with that. So 17.2 is the average. I'm hoping to get a little bit better than that on this trip. Yeah, trip 1, trip 2. You can customize all this, let you know off-road where all the power's going to your wheels, tire pressure, things like that. So a lot of info you can get there. And then you've got this gigantic 12-inch touchscreen here. Same thing. You can kind of thumb through what shows up on the right here, and I have my Android Auto going right here in the big portion of this screen. Yeah, a lot of information you can get in here. I think it's going to take me some time to fiddle with it and see exactly what I want to do. But I do have the upfitter switches up here, and so we'll see what we're going to wire into those. Obviously, the removable panels at the top, these came carpeted. I think I'm going to change that up. Maybe down the line I'm going to show you guys something that I want to try with those. We'll see if that pans out. Again, dual climate control. The AC in this thing is banging. Like, it is chilly willy. So super excited about that. They've got that dialed in. And then up here you've got all of your off-road, your front locker, rear locker, your sway bar disconnect, and your trail turn, which is a really cool feature that I've seen. I have not had a chance to use it yet, but from what I've seen, it's a really neat, some might say gimmicky, but I think if you need it, you'll be glad you have it. Yeah, nice marine grade vinyl in here. I was worried that they would make my back sweat, but they seem to be fairly breathable. Like I said, it hasn't been a super hot day in here yet, but I'm pretty happy with them. Good bolster, good support, and then it's got the adjustable lumbar support in them as well. So pretty spacious in here. And then the back, this thing's gonna honk at me with taking the keys out of it. In the back, enough space for some groceries, a gym bag. The seats will fold down, so you can knock those down and get a good bit of space back here. Another thing I've got coming, and I'll put the video of those going in here, is some protection for the back of these seats. I'm gonna have Hugo with me on a road trip. He is my little co-pilot. He travels with me pretty much everywhere that I can take him. And so we're gonna just put some stuff down here to keep the dog hair to a minimum. This is already rubberized. So I don't have a problem with this. This will be easy to clean and wash out. I've got the panel bags here. I need to find a place to store those, but then you got a little bit more storage underneath here. You've got your jack and a little bit of a storage compartment there. Tie downs. So yeah, for me, I always prefer a two-door. I am a purist when it comes to that. Like I said, I railed against these because I personally did not think a four-door was a Bronco. Now, the exception I will make to that is the Centurion Broncos that they did in the 90s. Those got a pass from me because I think they were just cool as hell. But now that I have driven one of these, I am a convert. Okay, so that is the initial walk around. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for those. I've got the accessories coming in. They should be here in the next day or two. I'm gonna throw in the accessories that I've got ordered for this. We'll throw the videos in so you guys can see that. Quick installs, shouldn't take more than a few minutes each. Then when we hit the road, I plan to do a good bit of narrating as I go down the road, because I'm excited to see how this thing handles a good long stretch of highway, city traffic, you know, kind of all the things that that you can throw at it on a road trip. And so, yeah, let's get ready to go. So a load of accessories came in for the Bronco today. We have these back storage area mats here that are going to protect the back of the seat and the trunk area. We have some grab handles to help my wife get up into the Bronco. These are the ones I'm most excited about. These are the seat jackers. we're going to install those, but essentially that's going to let me angle up the seat a little bit in the front, a more reclined seating position. Let's see, we've got the rail for the front that's going to be the GoPro and phone mount that's going to go in that center hole up front there. And then we've got a screen protector for the touch screen. So it should take hopefully 20 minutes to throw all this in. Let's go ahead and get started with it. Now the only bad deal about this is you kind of lose access to your tie downs. They're still under there, but if you need them, you're going to have to pull this thing out of the way to get back to them. But other than that, a pretty good fit. Now for the seat backs, these should just stick directly on there. Cool. And now those are just Velcroed in place, easy on, easy off. But again, so as we're gonna have the dog traipsing around in here, it's better to have that protected. And you can see there, with the seats up. So now we got the back cargo area taken care of. Let's move to the front. So with having Hugo in the car a lot with me, I wanted to make sure I had something to protect the screen. So this tempered glass screen protector I got came with instructions, but it's pretty straightforward. You've got the glass there that has a sticker to the back panel. It comes with a cloth to wipe everything down, alcohol, pads, stickers to get the debris off. So you just give it a thorough wipe down. And then it's as simple as just sticking the screen on there and testing it worked. Once I got it on there, went through, checked all the functionality. All the buttons worked fantastic. Really quick install, and I think in the end, if you ever need this thing, it's going to save you a lot of headache. Then I went on to the rail that was going to go up on the dashboard. So this is going to hold my cell phone and the GoPro. The GoPro mount can flip a couple ways. I have my mod mount on there, so I had to put it right up against the glass. But again, a really simple install and something that I think is going to save me a lot of hassle of fiddling with a cell phone as you're going down the road. Okay, before we put the seat jackers in place, I just want to get a shot for reference of where this seat's sitting now. So it's still its original height. And if you look, it's kind of straight even with that bump in the console, right? So right there is where we're at. And so these shims will do, I think one of them is 3/16 and two of them is 3/4. And so you can run it as a single or as a double, depending on how much recline you want. So I'm going to pop these in there, try them as a single first, and then depending on how that feels, we might try them as a double. So this is another very straightforward install. What you're going to do is you're going to pop off these two covers that are on the front bolts that hold the seat in place. Just get something under there, a pry tool, trim tool, anything like that. Just pop those out of place. That's going to expose the two bolts on the front of the seat. The rear bolts already exposed, so you don't need to take anything off. Those are in the back. But what you're going to do is you're going to pop the front bolts out and just loosen the bolts in the rear. That's just going to give you the ability to kind of shim that seat up and down, but not completely, you're not going to have to fight putting it back in and out of place. And then once you get those front bolts out, you can see here, I'm going to do a comparison of the bolts that they provide. So the bolts are considerably longer that they provide with the kit, allowing you to get that up angle on the front of that seat. So I've got the one shim in place now, and you can see that little, the alignment peg that's in the seat. So that goes through the back of the seat jacker. You can see it's got two holes. There's the other half of it. So it's got two holes, And so that pin goes through one of them, and then you would bolt through the other one. If you're only using one of these shims, you can get away with reusing the factory bolts. But I just gave that a sit, and that's not enough of a recline for me, so I'm going to end up using both of them. They key together, so there's an indented on the ones that are in there now, there's an indent to match this here. So I'm going to lay these on top of the shims that are already under there, lock those in place, put the pin through the back here, and then use the bolt they provided to bolt in here and get the maximum amount of recline. So let me get those in place real quick. So let's see, I don't know if you can tell, let me pull that there. So those two shims right there lock together, and then we're gonna put it in place under here, align that bolt or that pin through there. Let me get this other side squared away. That's locked, pin in place, and then you got to find the original hole that the seat went through. There we go. We're good on that one. And then you take this 15 millimeter that they've supplied and go down through the two, get it started by hand. All right, that one's started. And then we'll do the same thing over here. Let me give you the bird's eye view down this. So there is what you're looking down at. So there's the hole right there, and the two seat jackers are underneath it lined up. So now we're just going to throw this in place, get it started by hand. Might be some wiggling you need to do. All right, I'm going to put the camera down to get this started because I'm going to do some rocking and wiggling, but that's the basic principle. Okay, so now here's the side view with those seat jackers in place. As you can see, it raised this up a little bit, so this is not quite making contact with the floor anymore. And then it raised, you can see, considerably over that hump. So let me get in here and give it a seat. Oh, that is way better. Way better. Okay. Yeah, that's going to help a ton on the road trip. So, got a little warm out here on me. Okay, so that's going to help a ton on the road trip. It's going to put me at that reclined position because these manual seats just don't have that option to recline or to adjust the front and rear independently. You can adjust the height of it here, so you can move the seat up, but you can't adjust front to rear independently. And so that's what I was missing, was that recline ability. So now I'm going to make sure everything's tightened back up. These all torqued down to 27 foot-pounds. So I'll get these torqued down, and then that should be it for the first accessory haul. So now we'll go on the road trip, and that is going to really determine what I'm going to want to do to this next. So those were the known quantity, like must-dos for me. I knew the seating position was, I've done about 100 miles in it so far, which is enough to know that seating position is fine for short bursts, but I'm taking this thing on about 1,200 miles, I think, round trip. And so it was not going to be fine for that length of time. The phone holder is just a nice to have. The GoPro will be nice to have. The center console thing will keep the dog from getting everything nasty while he's putzing around as my co-pilot. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think as a first round of accessories, I'm into this maybe in all those less than $200, I want to say. I think the seat jackers were the most expensive. I think they were about $80, but I think those will prove to be well worth the money that those cost me. So again, let me get everything buttoned back up, and then we're going to get on the road. We're going to do a long road trip to Texas. Hopefully we can avoid the weather that is going through and just brutalizing the South right now. But that's why I got this bad boy, was in case we run into anything. We should be able to get through you know, through anything that would be smart to get through. So yeah, next check-in will be from the road. So let's get going. Okay, so it was a nice cool morning as we're getting ready to set off on this road trip. I've got the Bronco packed up. I'm gonna show you guys the capacity of this thing real quick. So back here, I was able to get 2 pretty good size overnight bags, the computer, laptop, everything like that, a bag of gifts. There's a duffel bag back there, the emergency roadside kit, and then Hugo's bed and cage down here. So a decent bit of storage back here. I could fold the seats down and get a bunch more, but I don't really need that, right? I want everything kind of locked and tight. And so then up front, we've got Hugo's captain's chair. So he'll be locked in here. He'll be able to sleep and enjoy the road trip. And then I'll have my cell phone and navigation, everything going up there. So yeah, plenty of space. Again, like I said, I could fold those seats down in the back and get a ton more storage space, but not gonna need it for what we're doing on this one. So now that we're packed up, I'm gonna take Hugo on one last walk so we can tire him out a little bit, and then we will get ready to start the road trip. Okay, so we've got Hugo loaded up. He is ready to go. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and reset the trip data. All right, so we will have that is gonna keep track of the entire trip here so we can see the miles per gallon and everything that we're getting on this. I wanna say, yeah, so that's since I've got the car, 147 miles doing 18.8. So we're gonna see how this does on the long highway stretches. So with that, we're gonna hit the road. You ready, buddy? Yeah, you're gonna fall asleep immediately. All right, we will check back in from the road. Okay, so we're about 40 miles into this trip, and right now I'm averaging 21.2 miles to the gallon. The ride is great. You know, this is the first good stretch of, 65 mile an hour run I've had this on. My only complaint so far is this wind noise coming from the top. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's right by my ear. And I've got a little bit of wind noise where the 2 front sections join. So that is, you can drown it out with the audio, just turn the stereo up and it drowns it out. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention. So many people had complained about the stereo system on these. I don't understand what their complaints were. So this is a new 2024, so maybe they tweaked some things and fixed it, but like, it is not a Burmeister or, a top-end stereo system by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not, 2 tin cans and a string like everybody made it out to be. It's a very passable system for the Bronco. For what this vehicle is, it sounds good in this vehicle. So we'll just crank the tunes up, drown out this wind noise, and keep plugging away. Today's a 350-mile day, so I've got about 300 and change left to go. Hugo is passed out hard. So again, a little more footage from the road just because this is a beautiful drive through this southern part of the country. And then we'll check into Little Rock and see what our final mileage for the day is. Okay, so there we are. We're at 140 miles in, averaging 22 miles to the gallon. So not bad so far, but you can see, still a little over half a tank. So we're gonna get fueled up, let Hugo do some running around, and then we'll get back on the road. Okay, so one thing this Bronco really does not like is being in the wake of a trailer, and so the Bronco's getting kind of tossed all over the place. I mean, obviously this thing is designed like a brick, right? It's not aerodynamic, but you really notice how much aerodynamicism it lacks when you get behind one of those trailers. Now that it's out from in front of us, it's fine, but when you're in that wake or the wash of the trailer or whatever you call it, it just starts tossing the Bronco side to side. So we'll get around this guy, but I've noticed that after a few times. Also, we just hit Arkansas not too long ago. Speed limit went up to 75, so I was cranking at 75 and the gas mileage just started tumbling, and so I'm gonna buck it down to 70 and see if I can save some of it, but that's where we're at now. Okay, so with that, we have arrived to our hotel for the night in Little Rock. We are sitting at 21.3 miles to the gallon over the last 355 miles. Now, I will say that got decimated when we pulled into into Arkansas, because the speed limit all the way through was 65 miles an hour, and it was doing about 22 miles to the gallon, between 21.9 and 22 depending, and then as soon as we hit 75 miles an hour, it just absolutely crushed the fuel mileage. I put the instant mileage up over here, and it was hovering somewhere around 18 to 20, and so I think this thing was designed to do 65 and no more. It likes to be under 2,000 RPMs at about 65 miles an hour, and that seems to be where it's the happiest. Now, don't get me wrong, it has plenty of juice over that. I had to overtake a semi, and I just tapped the throttle, and it took off like a rocket. And so there's plenty of power to be had there, but from a fuel mileage perspective, it likes to be right around 65. So this is about the halfway point, maybe a little under the halfway point on our way out on this journey to Texas. So we'll pick up tomorrow. Me and Hugo are gonna go find something for him to do, because he's been a fantastic boy. Maybe go down to the riverfront, see if we can get some food on us, and maybe let him play a little bit, chase the Frisbee. And then we'll pick back up tomorrow morning, and we'll head the rest of the way to Texas, hit Austin tomorrow, and we'll see what the overall fuel mileage for the trip out is. Okay, so even after all that stop and go traffic, the hour-and-a-half drive from Austin to San Antonio took 2.5 hours because of traffic. But even still, it didn't zap me too hard, right? We're still at 20.2 miles to the gallon. We're all just shy of 1,000 miles into this trip. So, I'm pretty happy with that so far. Like I said, stop and go from Austin to the airport, and then from the airport here to a friend's house where we're staying. I thought it was going to take us down into the teens, but it didn't. It's actually pretty good. And then, man, this thing's got some juice. I had to pop it a couple times to get past some knuckleheads in San Antonio traffic, and this thing will giddy up and go. It'll scoot right along. So I'm pretty happy with the power, pretty happy with the passing ability. So I don't know if there's anything I need to do power-wise. I've seen there's the piggyback systems, the power commander, and things like that. I don't know that this thing needs it. It's pretty good as is. Could you always juice more power out of it? Sure, right? Like, just like anything, I could take this thing as crazy as you want to get with it, but then you start dealing with drivability issues and fuel mileage and things like that. So for this one, since it's a daily, I'm going to try to keep it relatively comfortable and enjoyable to be in every day. So with that, we're going to putz around town here for a little bit, trip up to San Angelo. I don't know if you've ever been through this part of Texas, but not a ton to see from here to there, so we will probably pick back up on the drive home, unless there's something awesome around town to shoot. And then we'll wrap up once I get back with the full mileage. I'm guessing here at the halfway point, by the time I pull into my driveway back home, I'm going to be at 21.1 is my guess right here at the halfway point. I'm going to say 21.1 is going to be my overall. We'll see if I nail it. Okay, so I wasn't able to stop here on the way out because I had Hugo. But if you've never had the chance to experience a Buc-ees, this place is wild. So now that I have a co-pilot, I can go in here and give you guys a quick run through. It's pure insanity in here. They have every snack you could ever want. I've said this is the kind of place where if you wake up this morning and you may, man, I need to go on a 1,000-mile road trip. You could have nothing, stop in here and get everything you need for 1,000 miles. So let's get in here, do a run through, and see what they've got. So again, if you've never been to a Buc-ees, I cannot explain what it is other than just anything and everything to satisfy your sweet tooth. Ices, chips, drinks. They've got their own special line of stuff called these beaver nuggets, which are pretty interesting and worth a try. But again, any manner of snack, drink stations, sprawling bathrooms, which is kind of what they're known for. But then they do made-to-order stuff. So they've got breakfast burritos, briskets, barbecue, anything like that. And then this gigantic selection of beef jerky as well as other meats to take on the trip. Apparel, if you need to, again, like if you start a road trip with nothing, you can get everything you need here at Buc-ees. This one was in Texas and had something unique that I'd never seen before, which was this hunting section back here. But then you go back through sunglasses, jackets, hats, anything and anything you could ever need for a road trip. Okay, so we are just outside Texarkana. We are at about the halfway point. So you can see we have roughly 500 miles left to go. And right now we're sitting at 19.9, at just under 2,000 miles into this journey. So I'm gonna switch out, ride passenger for a little bit, see if I can catch a nap. Shiloh's gonna get a chance to drive. Hugo is gonna continue to nap in the back, which is fantastic. He's been, again, fantastic on this trip. Yeah, we're gonna have Shiloh drive maybe a couple hours, and then I will take us home because she's got work in the morning, so she's being a trooper and accompanying me on this long trip. But so far it's been comfortable. I'm gonna see what it's like to ride shotgun in this one. The seat feels, the same, feels great. I'm gonna see if I can zonk out, and then I'll see if I can get Shiloh's driving impressions, because this is gonna be her first time driving it at all. She didn't test drive it. She took a quick whip around the block in the passenger seat with me, and that's the only time she's had in this one before this trip. So we're gonna get her in the driver's seat, get a few hundred miles under her belt, and then we'll see what she thinks of this. Because like I said, this is something I really wanted. So do I have blinders on? Am I just looking at it as something that I'm excited about and letting some of the shortcomings of this thing go? Or is it really as good as I think it is? So as soon as she gets back out here with whatever snack she needs for the road, we'll turn around and get going. And then we'll check in as we get closer to us switching out drivers. I'll ask you this. So you got to drive it for roughly 150 miles, mostly highway. What did you think of it in the little bit of time you got to drive it?
I'd say it's pretty comfortable to drive. I had to figure out, I'm glad it had lane assist because my car's not so wide. So that was nice. It's a little bumpy. It's a lot more bumpy than my car.
I think the roads were a little trashy. I mean, we were just coming out on the edge of Texas, and I'm not gonna lie, I mean, the suspension is not like Cadillac suspension by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the roads had something to do with it too.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I think it's actually harder to hear the radio from the driver's side than it is from the passenger side. I'm not sure if it seems like the wind is worse on your side than mine.
I thought the exact opposite. So when I was sitting over there, I thought the wind noise was worse. Maybe my right ear is just better, I don't know. But I thought the wind noise was worse. It was harder to hear the stereo. Like, that's where I first understood the complaints about the stereo. I was like, especially with an audiobook, that's where I was like, oh, okay, I understand the shortcomings of this stereo system now, because the audiobook is so difficult to hear with the wind noise and the road noise, the tires, all that, from the passenger seat. And then for me, being as wide as I am, it was difficult like to get comfortable over there. Here I have an armrest and I have the steering wheel to get my arm, so like the width over here is a little less cumbersome. But over there, I felt confined on the right side. Like it felt smaller from the passenger seat than from the driver's seat for me.
I don't know. I don't think it felt smaller to me, but I will say it's very nice because I'm only 5 foot, so it's very hard for me to get a car I can see out of, and I can see out of it very well. Like the seat adjusts well, even though I adjusted everything, and then you had to adjust literally everything in the car. So I would say a downside is it doesn't have memory because it doesn't have electric controls.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, if you're switching drivers, that is a problem. If you're not going to be switching drivers, it's not going to be the biggest deal in the world, because once you get comfortable, you can get it set. What did you think of the seat jackers? So could you tell that the seat jackers were in there kicking the front end up a little bit?
No, I didn't think anything different, because I had it all the way up, pumped all the way up and kind of up to the steering wheel, so.
Oh yeah, the seat jackers kind of do stop being effective, because as this thing raises, it seems to tip forward. And so I think if you took it all the way to the top, then what you probably got was it almost leveled out. So
if that's true, that was nice. So, because then I wasn't sitting weird. But I think the lumbar, because I'm small, I think the lumbar support could be a little bit better. I didn't really feel anything. Oh, and the headrest is kind of difficult for somebody who's short, because you can't really get your head comfortable.
You know the lumbar is adjustable, right? You could have adjusted the lumbar.
I did adjust it. Although I thought I turned it all the way, but I was trying not to crash. So.
Okay. All right, but overall, comfortable, and you felt comfortable driving. You said it was a little bigger than you're used to, and it was hard for you to place in the lane, but do you think you would get used to that over time?
Yeah, I think so, if I drove it more. And I think I couldn't see the little thing on the hood to see where the car was, because the GoPro was in the way.
Oh yeah, so even with me, like the center mount with the GoPro and the cell phone does knock a huge chunk of your visibility. I mean, the rear view mirror already kills some of your visibility, and then when you put those two things in, there's like a blind spot off the right front tire. That, I mean, it's overcomable, right? If you take the time to look down and notice, but at a glance, you could miss something, I think.
Yeah, it's very, especially if it's your first time driving it. It wasn't great to not be able to see, and I'm already, vertically challenged, so I already have my own challenges.
But overall, you think ride quality is pretty good. Does it need to be higher or lower as far as like where it is in traffic, lift or lower? Is it at a good ride height?
No, I think it's at a good ride height. I would say it would be great if it had vented seats, because you do get a warm booty. Yeah,
so this was, I said on the drive out that the seats were fine, and I was like, oh, my back's not hot. Well, that's because we hadn't had a really hot day. So like on the trip today, I have noticed that these marine grade vinyl seats, they do make it difficult to breathe, and you do get a hot, sweaty back, and you have to like kind of pull off and unstick yourself from it and let your back breathe a little bit. So
the vents are good though. The air conditioner vents are good.
Yeah, air conditioner is A1. So maybe I'll look at some seats that have a little bit of breathability built into them. Maybe I'll get like vintage bead seats out of a Volkswagen bus.
Oh yeah, or those, like, remember back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, the bead covers.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you get those maybe to breathe in the summertime.
Cool. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so. It's comfortable on the passenger side. I have plenty of space. I actually thought I had less space on the driver's side, but I could have been, because I had everything kind of up so I could see and reach things. But I'm pretty comfortable. I have plenty of space. Me and the dog, because he sleeps in my lap half the time.
Okay, so it's 2:30 in the morning. We just pulled in the garage, and it looks like over the course of the 2,572 mile trip, we averaged 20.1 miles to the gallon. So not quite as good as I thought we were going to get to. I'll collect some thoughts and have a wrap up in the morning. Right now, Hugo is just itching to get out of the car. He's behind me, and I'm exhausted. We've been on the road since 8:30 this morning. The traffic in Texas was just brutal. So glad to be home. It was a great trip overall. Like I said, I'll collect my thoughts and do a wrap up in the morning. But yeah, so far pretty impressed with this truck. Man, I just recorded the perfect wrap up, and then I realized my microphone wasn't on. So I'll try this again and to hit the highlights. I've had some time to sleep and gather my thoughts. And I got to say, I am overall impressed with the Bronco. Fantastic ride for what it is. It handled great, all the power you could ever want out of that 2.7 EcoBoost. Good on-road manner. I haven't taken it off-road yet, but I've seen the videos. I expect it to do fantastic off-road. But for the 3,000-ish miles I've put on it so far, it's met every expectation I've had. I do have some, some not complaints, but the wind noise and the road noise are at times a lot, right? Once you get north of 70 miles an hour, you do kind of have to strain to have a conversation. And I think you got to build that into the expectations of a vehicle like this. But also that's, now that I've experienced that for a few thousand miles, I am going to be very particular about how I modify this, right? Because originally you have this vision in your mind, I'm going to slap, 4 or 5 inch lift on it and some 37s and really, dude it up. But I can't imagine how much louder that thing would be with 37s on it, and the wind noise and the tire noise that would create. So I'm going to rethink some of the modifications I had planned for it, which was the intent of this trip, right? Like, I think this is a good opportunity to get to know a vehicle. If you can, when you buy one, take it on a road trip before you do anything. Get a few thousand miles. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from somebody when I was building one of my other vehicles, and I was looking to do some pretty extreme modifications to it, they're like, hey, build it for the 99 miles you're going to drive, not the 1, right? So for every, 100 miles you do in this vehicle, you're going to be running to and from the grocery store. You're going to be, hopping on the highway and getting just your daily tasks done. And maybe one of those miles is going to be do something extreme off-road or, something that you need a crazy lift for, crazy wheels and tires. And so I try to remember that advice whenever I'm doing anything, right? Build it for the 99 miles, not the 1 mile. And if you absolutely love that 1 mile and you're willing to pay the price for the other 99, then, you do you. But the older I get, the more I value my comfort. And so again, I'm going to rethink some of the mods I had for this. I've got some things I want to do visually to it, just to kind of make it stand out a little bit, because it's just black on black, and that's just a wall of black to me that just it's not fitting of that Bronco or of the Bronco in general. So I'm going to see if I can't do something to change that up a little bit. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If there's any questions that the video didn't answer, please feel free to reach out and let me know. But yeah, stay tuned. We're going to do some things to it, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.